Welcome to A Walk in My Stilettos, where our goal is to help you walk in your greatness. I'm your host, Makini Smith. The purpose of this show is to inspire you to walk in your greatness. We have conversations with amazing women that are letting us take a walk in their stilettos so we can continue to walk in a manner worthy of our calling. I get inspired when I see another woman succeeding, but what inspires me more is her backstory and her mindset on how she got there. Today's guest, we have Jaclyn Genovese. She is the founder and CEO of Jacflash, an interior designer with a passion for fitness and nutrition. Her company, Spaces by Jacflash, is an award-winning design and decor firm, and she's built Fitness by Jacflash to be a sisterhood to not just get physically strong, but also mentally. So from her roots in fashion to her women's wellness and entrepreneurial workshops, Jaclyn Genovese is not your average interior designer. So please welcome to the show, Jaclyn.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. I'm so excited for this interview.
It's an honor to have you on. I can't wait for you to share your gems. You've been in this entrepreneurial space for a while, so can't wait to be inspired and learn from you.
Mm-hmm.
So what I love to do is to start the show with an icebreaker and to ask, because all the women who come on, we all have so many different titles that we go by. And a title that we are called so many times a day that doesn't get enough recognition is our name. So my question to you is, Jaclyn, do you know what your name means?
Oh my gosh, I actually don't. I'm sure I've looked it up at one point, but I haven't looked it up in a long time. Do you know what it means?
It's funny enough. Normally I Google everyone's name before the show starts, so I have like a heads up. And I said to myself, you know what? I'm just positive she knows what her name means, so I don't need to Google it.
Oh my
But that's
God.
fine.
Here,
Let's see.
Jaclyn is a feminine given name. It is a variant of Jacqueline, a French feminine form of Jacques. It means supplanter or possibly may God protect. Wow,
Okay.
so fancy.
Okay.
That's so cool. I can't believe I've never done that before.
All right.
I don't even know what that means, but I hope I'm protected.
Yes, you are. You are. So I'd like to ask another simple question. What did you want to be when you were a little girl?
When I was little, I wanted to be a singer. I was in choirs. I was in a choir called the Toronto Children's Chorus, which is a very hardcore, strict choir that you have to audition for. I was in that from 6 to 12. So we would perform at the Roy Thompson Hall. And from there, I got into playing the guitar and songwriting. And I was obsessed with Jewel, if anyone knows who Jewel is from back in the day. And then, surprisingly, my major in university was opera singing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, quite random. But I still sing just for fun. Like I sing every Friday night with a pianist, and we're gonna do a couple of recordings, but obviously nothing that I'm like really pursuing professionally at all. Just to stay within my passion. So yeah, that's what I wanted to do growing up.
Wow, that's beautiful. So, I mean, I guess that speaks to your creativity because, you have a fashion background and now you're designing spaces. So, being in the design space, was this something you wanted to do for a long time, or how did that come about?
Interior design. My family is very into design. Like I remember even my bedroom growing up. I remember all my friends could put like really cool posters on their walls and everything, and my room was like perfectly designed, and I couldn't really add my own touch to it. So our house was always immaculately designed and clean and tidy, and I think my dad got it from my grandma because she owned an antique shop growing up, and she was actually featured in Chatelaine magazine, and she was an entrepreneur herself. So I think I get it from her. But how I started with interior design, it's actually a funny story. I used to own a clothing store on Queen Street West in Toronto called Jacflash. And I opened the store, I think it was 2007. And loved it. It was like a huge success, probably one of the biggest boutiques in the city. But after like 5, 6 years, I just felt like I wasn't learning or growing, and I wasn't waking up, jumping out of bed in the morning anymore. So I knew I needed to change. So I decided I thought my two options are either open another store or close the store and, just kind of figure out what I want to do from there. So I decided to close the store, and everyone was devastated except for me. Everyone was like, "Are you serious? You are Jacflash. Like, that is your identity. What are you going to do?" And I had a really big dog named Gunther at the time, and I adopted him when he was 9, and he was like 13 or 14, so he was getting old. And because I lived above the store with him, I needed to move. So I wanted to move into a house that had a backyard for him. But because my budget was not crazy enough to buy a glam house, I rented and moved into this like creepy, haunted looking house. So I moved into the house, and my friends and my boyfriend at the time were like, "You're literally insane for moving into this house. I don't understand why you're doing this. Just move into a nice condo." And I was like, "What do you mean? This will be great." So within 2 weeks, I'd redesigned the entire house, painted it, put up molding myself, changed all the light fixtures, just did everything that I could do. I didn't own the space, so I couldn't do any like renos or anything, but everything that I could do just to make it my own. And my friends and family came back and they were like, "This is insane. I don't understand how this is the same house and how you did this so quickly. Can you do my house?" So I started doing my friends and family's houses and condos, and just kind of got my foot in the door and experience and grew my portfolio there. And then another friend of mine, he played for the Raptors. He asked me to do his place. So from there, I got a lot of press. And then the Spaces by Jacflash was born, and it just grew the brand kind of organically at that point. And I decided to hire staff from there who knew all the technical side of things. So I didn't actually go to school for it, but all of my staff did. So they can do all of the floor plans. They can do all of, HVAC plans, electrical plans. They can do it all. And I kind of just oversee the design intent of everything. And I learned a lot over the last 5 years, but I really love it.
I think it's beautiful that you speak to your evolution of Jacflash and doing, interior design and designing spaces. It blew up and you didn't go to school for it. And you were smart enough to know that you can delegate. So your staff has all been schooled in it, but you've used your creative side to build a business and a brand, and you just hire on the brains necessary for the technical stuff that you don't know how to do. I think that's brilliant because there's so many women out here saying, "I can't do this because," or "I need to go back to school in order to do this." So they're totally limiting themselves, but you basically looked at the situation and said, "Hey, I'm going to delegate. I'm going to hire the expertise that I need and use my creativity and my God-given, skills and ability to build this." That's beautiful. I love that.
Thank you. And to be honest, I first started out because I couldn't afford to hire staff on salary or anything. I actually first started out by finding a guy on Kijiji that did floor plans for $40 a pop. So, you really have to just build, like I was saying, build it all organically and kind of like take it one step at a time. Just build slowly so that you kind of know when you're ready to hire staff and when you're even just one person and then 2 people and then 3 people. Even sometimes, depending on the time of year, I'll have a lot more people working with me in the spring and summer because that's when interior design is booming. And then in the winter months, like December to probably February, everyone's traveling. Everyone's spent all their money on, gifts and everything for the holidays. So I know that December to February is usually not as crazy for me. So I'll kind of staff depending on the time of the year. But the great thing about that is that fitness is booming from December to February. So that is kind of great for me because I can really concentrate on fitness in those months and then interior design the rest of the year.
Okay, so share with us how Fitness by Jacflash began.
Fitness by Jacflash. I started just over a year ago. My wellness journey began probably 3 years ago. I was just constantly sick. I would either have some kind of infection, like this is horrible, but I would either have like a bladder infection, or I would get my nails done and I would get a cuticle infection and have to go on antibiotics for that. Or, oh God, I went to Coachella one time and I thought I'd be, you know, proactive by not having to wear makeup during Coachella. So I got fake eyelashes on and I woke
Mm-hmm.
up the next day before my trip to Coachella with a huge eye infection and
Oh
had to
my
get them removed.
goodness.
So my immune system was just horrible. So, and doctors weren't helping me. They were literally just putting me on antibiotics, and
Mm-hmm.
that seemed to be
That
making
causes
things
more
worse.
problems. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So I went to a naturopath and did a bunch of tests, and she put me on a new nutrition plan that was based around my food sensitivities, and also really worked on my gut health. And that changed everything for me. It changed my entire life, my energy. Just, it was really a lifesaver for me. And after 2 years of working with her, my energy was starting to come back up, and she suggested that I start working out again because I was always really sporty when I was growing up. But I kind of like took a break when I was just concentrating on work and I wasn't feeling so well.
Mm-hmm.
So I started working out with a trainer and kind of posting my progress. And within 3 months, I posted a kind of like a before and after picture just to show for myself like how much muscle I really gained and how strong I felt. And the response was crazy. Women were messaging me saying, I want to work out with you. What are you doing to work out? So I, from there, decided to do a fitness workshop, which was Fitness by Jacflash.
Awesome. You speak to the importance because you talked about your gut health and how you transition when you dealing with medical doctors versus dealing with a naturopath. And I think
Mm-hmm.
people underestimate what they eat. They think it's just food, it's
Totally.
whatever, but you really are what you eat. And it took
Totally.
me learning just the same as you did. I was dealing with an autoimmune disorder and I was constantly sick, and
Mm-hmm.
realizing that just through fruits and vegetables and things like that, I was supplementing with natural stuff, giving my body
Mm-hmm.
what it needs so that it can function as it should. And then for about 2 years straight, I had no symptoms from the fibromyalgia because I was on heavy antioxidants with fruits and vegetables. And people are like, "What are you doing?" I wasn't even working out
Mm-hmm.
regularly. I had more
Mm-hmm.
energy, my skin looked better, my hair was growing, my nails are growing, and it was just from the fruits and vegetables.
Totally. Yeah, I don't put anything in my body that doesn't nourish me, which seems it seems like a little extreme, but for me, like with the journey that I've been through with it all, it's just not worth it for me. Like I know that some people are like, oh, have some cake here and there, or like, it's a weekend, why don't you splurge? For me, it's just not even worth it. And the negatives kind of outweigh the positives of eating bad food for me. So yeah, I'm pretty strict on my diet.
Yeah, especially if you're aware of your body and how it feels,
Hmm.
that one piece of cake can throw you off for a whole 3
Oh
days.
yeah,
I totally
definitely.
get it. I had first cut out just eating red meat, and then I went to a health workshop by a guy who used to be a medical doctor, and his wife used to
Hmm.
be a medical pharmacist, and they both left that industry for a more natural industry and totally turned me off of meat. They showed
Hmm.
slides and videos and all this stuff, and I completely had cut out eating meat, especially chicken, and my body felt amazing. Like, it was an adjustment at first,
Hmm.
obviously, because I was starving. I didn't know what else to eat.
Hmm.
But I
Yeah.
felt amazing. And I find
Hmm.
now it's been maybe almost 3 years. And right
Wow.
now, every now and again, I'm like, "Oh, if my boyfriend has a piece of meat on his plate or he's eating chicken wings." I'm like, "Oh, one
Hmm.
chicken wing won't kill me." And just that one chicken wing, I'm telling you, I'm feeling it now. My body is punishing me.
Wow.
I have been sick for like the last 3, 4 weeks.
Wow. You know
So
what's
it's
crazy too is that everybody's different. So I was actually a vegetarian for 8 years
mhm,
before I started seeing my naturopath. And my particular body, I need a lot of fat and I need a lot of like healthy fats. and
Mm-hmm.
I actually need meat. So that's something that I changed. I actually added meat, but for someone
Mm-hmm.
like yourself, you kind of have to, I mean, you can do food sensitivities and see what you're actually allergic to through, I think even your doctor, you can do the test as well, which is
Mm-hmm.
very helpful, but everybody is different. And what I eat every day and what is good for me might be totally different from what you eat. So you also can't really like copy someone else's diet. Like when people are
Right.
like, oh, what do you eat? I wouldn't suggest everybody eating everything that I eat. They
Right.
probably need a different kind of diet for their body.
Totally agree with you. I mean, we all have, our metabolisms go at different rates and, we're all
Mhm.
built differently. So we all definitely require different things. Totally.
Mhm.
Okay. So I want you to speak to what inspired your WEW, your Women Entrepreneurial Workshops.
Same kind of thing as Fitness by Jacflash. Almost everything that I have done today has just happened organically, but I had girls, probably 10 girls a day, messaging me or emailing me, asking me for coffee and saying, I just wanted to pick your brain, and I was thinking of starting this company, or I wanted to get into interior design. I'd love to take you out for coffee. And as much as I would want to fill my day with socializing with these incredible women, I just don't have the time for it. So
Right.
I decided to put together a workshop and kind of just like feel it out and see if people would be interested in coming. And I had a wait list of like 115 people
Oh, wow.
within 2 days for this workshop, and the space only held, I think it was 80 women. So I still have waiting lists for the next one, which I'm not sure when I'm going to do that. But yeah, that's how it came to be. Just like I kind of listened to my followers and listened to what people want from me, and then just pursue things from there.
I think that's smart. I mean, a lot of female entrepreneurs, they have an idea and they want to create this business and generate all this income, but they're not necessarily listening to their audience. They're not really
Mm-hmm.
solving a problem. So then, when they're not making as much money as they'd like, they're wondering why they're not so successful. But I think it's very important that you listen to your audience and you're basically providing solution to their problems.
Mm-hmm. It's a lot of
So,
fun too.
and of course, you're serving, and if you enjoy what you're doing, it doesn't necessarily feel like work, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, what adversities have you had to overcome to get to where you are today?
Adversities.
I feel
I
like,
think the biggest, sorry, go ahead.
no, I was going to say, I feel like every woman that's come on the show, people look up to them. They look up to their success and what they've attained and all their accolades. In order to feel like you're relatable or, social proof, like they want to know
Mm-hmm.
what have you had to deal with so that they could say, oh my God, like she dealt with this and still managed to do all these things. Like I'm experiencing that, but to know that
Mm-hmm.
she overcame that.
I think that the biggest adversity for me was overcoming the fear of what people think about me. So if I was going to listen to everybody and be worried about what people thought, I'd probably still own the clothing store Jacflash, and I probably wouldn't be
Hmm.
doing that well because I wouldn't be passionate about it. So, I own the clothing store. Everybody was like, there's no way you can close this store. This is horrible. Like what are you going to do? I didn't have a backup plan. My backup plan was to start my online store.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so I just think like the more that you care what people think, the less you're kind of following your heart, to be
Hmm.
honest. And the less that you're following your heart and the less that you're passionate about things, then you're really not going to do well. And I find that a lot of women that I've talked to are actually really nervous about failing,
Of
which is
course. Yep.
something that I think that you have to do. And I always tell the women that, there's tons of businesses that I've done that haven't blown up per se. I still think that they're incredible businesses, but I'm not embarrassed about them by any means because they haven't turned into huge successes. I think they haven't turned into huge successes because I haven't really had the time or the passion to put into those projects. So one example is a company called House 11 that I started, and it was essentially like as an interior designer, I found that there was not a lot of affordable art available unless you're going to like go to Home Sense or really do your research. So, and I had like students and people contacting me all the time saying, I'm an artist. I just graduated from school and I have a lot of art. I know you're an interior designer. I'd love for you to show my artwork to your clients.
Mm-hmm.
So I started House 11, and it was such a cool idea, and my clients loved it, but I just didn't have the time to put into it and to manage like 15 different artists,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of push them and, make sure that they meet deadlines. Because a lot of the time I would ask an artist, oh, can you do this painting in the next 3 weeks? But because they had full-time jobs as well, a lot of them, because they had just graduated from school, they didn't have a lot of time to do it. So it was just one of those things that just didn't succeed how I would originally want it to, but I also
Mm-hmm.
didn't put in the time or effort that I think that I should have. Another company that I started is called the Shoe Vault, which is really, really cool. There are these acrylic shoe boxes. I've done them for a couple of NBA players, and they're obviously a very high-end product.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just acrylic shoe boxes. So, these basketball players, a lot of them have crazy amounts of designer shoes, and they're just like hidden in the back of their closets. I had one guy that had like 3 of the same shoe, YSL shoe, and they're like
Mm-hmm.
$2,500 a shoe. And he just kept buying them because he forgot he had it. So it was
Wow.
obscene. So I actually started that company because of him, and I designed these shoe boxes. And again, same thing. Like I still think it's an incredible company, but I don't have the time to travel and really I'm not really in the whole shoe industry at all. Like I just don't really understand it.
Mm-hmm.
So I just didn't push it at all. But to me, like some people would look at that and be like, oh, she started this company, she used to promote it, she doesn't anymore, that's a failure. But to me, that's not a failure at all. And I just keep trying new ideas, just continue to try any idea that comes to your head. And if it succeeds, it succeeds. If not, you'll learn something from it.
Exactly.
And I think that's been the main adversity that I've had to work with, is just like not caring what people think. Just do you, and every day do what makes you happy, and just explore.
I think that's a big one. I mean, when I first connected with my mentor back in 2013, something he would always say in one of his talks is, why do you care what people think? If you listen to what people say and you watch what people do, they will tell you and show you that they're not thinking. So, we're over here hung up on what the neighbors think or what so and so thinks about what we're doing, when in actuality they're not thinking about what they're doing. So why are we giving them so much power?
Exactly.
Speaking of mentors, have you had any mentors along the way to help guide you throughout any of your businesses?
I wouldn't call them mentors per se, but a lot of people, like people that I kind of have around me all day, every day, are my mentors in some kind of a sense. So one of my best friends is Melissa Andre. She is a big event planner she's from Toronto, but she recently moved to Los Angeles. She's like a celebrity event planner, and she's incredible. And her and I are just always going back and forth with different ideas. She's always teaching me because she's been doing design for like 10 years and I just started 5 years ago. So she's always teaching me like the legal sides of things, contracts. So she's been kind of like a mentor in that way for me. And my boyfriend as well, Jabril, he owns a clothing store called Get Fresh on Queen Street West in Toronto. It's a men's boutique, and he also does
that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you do? Yeah.
Yeah.
So him and I, we're always working. Like even if we're going out for dinner together and we have a date night, we're just talking about work because we're so passionate about our work. We're always brainstorming different ideas together. Yeah, so I'd say like less mentors, more just like surrounding yourself with people that have similar goals as you and have been through the same kinds of things as you.
So I guess those are kind of like peer mentors.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. So speaking of your boyfriend, we were speaking before, and you mentioned that you are trying to have a baby. Did you want to share with us how things are going and how that process has been?
We've been trying for about a year and I'd say like 3 or 4 months now. It's pretty crazy because I just remember from like 15 to 30, I spent 15 years trying not to get pregnant, thinking that it was going to be like, just like so nervous about it, always so careful. I was on birth control for 10 years. It's so crazy because you just don't think about it until you're actually trying. And then since I started this journey of trying to conceive, it's been like, I've just learned so much about myself and my body. And even though it's a tough experience, it's kind of been like a positive experience in that sense. And it's also really pushed me to just get healthier and just be totally meticulous about my body and everything that I'm doing and putting into my body. But yeah, I think moving forward, we might try IUI in the near future, which is where they like wash the sperm and then they insert it into your uterus. So we'll see how that goes. But it's just insane how many women, like since I opened up about it, so many women are struggling with infertility. And I wouldn't even call it infertility because I feel like there's always hope for it. But yeah, the community is just crazy how many women are going through this.
It never surprises me, when you open up about something that you are either struggling with or that you've gone through, that this tribe of women that can relate, start to come forward. It's like a community of support. I have a couple
Yeah.
of friends who had trouble conceiving, and when they were trying really hard, they were getting frustrated with the process. And the minute they actually stopped trying is when they got pregnant.
Oh my God, everyone says that. Everyone's like, go on vacation. But the problem with going on vacation too now is that everywhere has Zika,
Yeah.
which is it's just really annoying. But yeah, so many people have told me like, as soon as you stop trying is when it's going to happen. Kind of easier said than done because you're like, oh my God, my clock is ticking and every month counts is what the fertility doctors tell you. So you're like, I can't just stop trying for 4 or 5 months because that's like a waste of 4 or 5 months. It's such a battle. But
I
yeah,
totally
maybe I should just listen to
understand.
everyone.
Be at harmony with the universe, honestly. Just like take things as they come. Sometimes we're, trying to force things ahead of their time, but I'm definitely praying for you and keeping you both in my thoughts. Positive energy going out
Thank
there.
you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So with everything you have going on with all these companies and trying to have a baby and mentoring women, like what is your self-care routine?
I just make sure that I schedule everything in and everyone around me knows my self-care schedule. So like Tuesdays at 3:00, I have acupuncture, and Fridays at 8 p.m. I have my vocal lesson, which for me is like very therapeutic. And I have scheduled workouts in. I make sure that, the beginning of each week I schedule in where I work out at Equinox, so I schedule in where my yoga workouts are going to come in throughout the week, and I meditate as much as I can. I've actually been I've been doing hypnotherapy, which is pretty crazy for fertility, and I actually did it for public speaking as well. It's called RTT, Rapid Transformational something, but they basically hypnotize you, which isn't as scary as it seems, but they hypnotize you, which seems more like a meditation state. Like you can kind of get out of it whenever you can just open your eyes at any point kind of thing. And they do that for like 2 hours. They kind of go through all the blockages. So something could have happened to you when you were like 3 years old that you didn't really remember or think related to your fear. And they kind of go through it all and unblock you. And then they do like a 10 to 30 minute recording that you have to listen to every day for 21 days. So that's part of my self-care regime right now, is listening to my hypnotherapy recording. And that has actually, it's really, really changed my life. Just like the power of the mind and positive thinking. And before I did hypnotherapy for public speaking, I probably wouldn't even have accepted this podcast interview because I was so shy and nervous. And as soon as I did it, like 3 weeks later, I did like a Foot Locker panel talk. I started speaking a lot more in my workshops, which I never really would do because I'm not the trainer. I always have a yoga instructor or a trainer. So I would kind of be like no, you guys talk. No. And I'd be like nervous, just waving in the background. And I also I did the women's entrepreneurial workshop, which was like a big one for me because I just had to literally speak for like 2 hours.
Wow.
But that really, really changed my life. Like I'm going to continue to do it for anytime I'm like, oh, this is making me nervous. Hypnotherapy time. It's really cool. Like everybody should definitely look into that.
I think that's awesome. I think I can totally relate to everything that you're saying because I used to be extremely introverted. Like I'm still introverted, but I used to be so
Mhm.
introverted that I would rather like get shot in the foot than stand on stage and speak in front of, a group of people. So back in 2014, when I started doing public speaking, it was all through a lot of the training that I do with my mentor, Bob Proctor, like really getting into your subconscious mind and internalizing and dealing with the blockages of why we think the way that we think
Exactly.
and moving forward. And like you said, the whole positive thought, but there's so much more to it that I wish people understood. But
Mhm.
yeah, I think it's I think it's great that you've been able to come out of your shell and to do these talks and allow yourself to evolve.
And the book, I don't know if you've read the book A New Earth by Eckhart
Mm,
Tolle. Oh
no.
my gosh, it is literally life changing. It's one of those books that I reread like every 6 months because you kind of slip out of the mindset. But it's just, you have to look it up and read it. It's just all about being kind of more conscious about everything that you do and not
Hmm.
labeling things so, you see a bird and you're like, oh, there's a bird, there's a pigeon. And like, that's that. But then Eckhart Tolle's way of life is kind of just like, wow, like don't label it as a pigeon, don't label it as anything, just look at it and just like be in the moment with
Hmm.
everything. And everything around you just is so incredible and beautiful. Like even looking out the window right now, the trees, like in the wind, it's just everything. You just see the whole world in a new light. So that's been really helpful for me as well, that book.
I love it. I'm going to write it down. You said A New Earth?
Yeah, Anywhere.
Yep. Yep. I'm going to get that book. I'm going to add it to my reading list. Thank you.
You're
So,
welcome.
my next question, I read this article that basically can describe your personality based on your favorite type of shoe. So, it's no surprise that I'm obsessed with stilettos, hence my brand. But my question to you, Jaclyn, is what is your favorite type of shoe? Is it a boot? Is it a running shoe? A flip flop? A stiletto? A flat? A loafer?
I would say a boot. I don't know how. Are you talking about you wear like a pump
For
stiletto, or you just mean like any kind of stiletto? Because
for
I don't know how women wear pumps. Like I, I don't get it. I look at them and I'm in awe. I'm like, you guys are actual incredible beings. I don't get it. I can wear heels, but like something about a pump. So I definitely need ankle support. I think I like a some kind of a heel, like thick heel boot, like a
Like a
Chelsea
wedge?
boot, the
Oh.
heel,
Ah,
not like a wedge.
no.
I wish
A
I could
high
show
okay,
you.
so a
Kind of like
high-heeled boot?
an ankle boot. Yeah, high heel boot, let's say. Not stiletto though. I mean,
Okay.
I'll do a stiletto when I'm going out on the rare occasion, but yeah.
So it says the person who loves wearing high-heeled boots will always be the one to take control of the situation. They're quick on their feet and able to make clear, rational decisions. This woman is exceptionally self-assured, so people around her feel instantly safe in her hands.
Wow, that's so funny. I
Does that
learned
sound
so
like
much
you?
about myself today. Yeah. Yeah, it really does.
So before we go to the final segment of the show, I want you to tell people where they
Hmm.
can stay connected with you online.
My Instagram is at Jaclyn Genovese, JaclynGenovese. And my website is jacflash.net, JACFLASH.net.
Perfect. And I will also have it within the description so they can click on it and go straight to your page to follow you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So the final part of the show, I usually call it a walk in her stilettos. Today we're going to call it a walk in her boots. And it's where, okay, so they're like reflection questions. So you say the
Hmm.
first thing that comes to mind.
Okay. Oh my God.
No pressure. What have you become better at saying no to in the last 5 years?
I would say like going to events and like
Mm,
obligations. Like, yeah.
love it. I totally agree with you on that one. What new belief, behavior, or habit has improved your life in the last 5 years?
A big one for me lately is diaphragm breathing. and just being very conscious of my breath from the minute I wake up until I'm falling asleep at night.
Name one of the most worthwhile investments you've ever made, and that could be money, time, energy.
I would say my house. We purchased a house 2 years ago, and I've been renovating it, and I just put my heart and soul into this house, and I'm such a homebody that it's just like, oh, I love it. It's just like such a haven for me. So yeah, I think my home.
Love it. Okay. What failure has taught you the most about life?
I would say closing my clothing store, and that just closing one door is not the end, the be all end all, and that it can open many other doors for you.
Love it. Let's see, maybe one or two more. Name a book that has changed or greatly impacted your life.
Oh, A New Earth.
Perfect. And last one. If you could have a gigantic billboard anywhere with anything on it, what would it say and why?
It would be, I don't know where, but I think it would be a billboard catering to women, and it would be my slogan, my Fitness by Jacflash slogan, which is "Let's get strong together."
Love it. I love it. I want to thank you, Jaclyn, for coming on and taking the time to share your gems with us. I truly, truly appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
You are welcome. And to our guests, until next time, download the A Walk in My Stilettos app and subscribe to our newsletter at awalkinmystilettos.com. Make sure you rate the podcast on Apple. Leave us a review. Share your comments. What do you think about what Jaclyn had to say? Do you have anything to add? We'd love your feedback. And continue to walk in greatness in your stilettos in a manner worthy of your calling.